Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead. Now that Season 7 is over and as we prepare for Season 8, I'm going to be doing some videos that are looking back at Season 7, reviewing some of the plots, some of the plot lines that were, in a sense, held over for Season 8, and try to predict what is coming up in October when The Walking Dead returns. This video is going to be doing my overall review of Season 7. I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I thought Season 7 did very well on, and some of the things that I felt it did not do as well on, and what I hope they change in Season 8 when it comes back. If you have not seen The Walking Dead Season 7, if you are not caught up and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then I suggest you exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so overall, when I think about The Walking Dead, I think that it is still a show that is continuing to live up to the expectations of at least me and many other people that read the comic books. Maybe you might have a different opinion, but I still enjoy The Walking Dead so much. I've enjoyed where they've taken the show. I've enjoyed the plot lines. I've enjoyed the characters, and I really like the way that Season 7 left off, and I'm very excited for what is to come in Season 8. And obviously, since The Walking Dead is adapted from a comic book, or in a sense a story that has already been told, and in a sense they're trying to bring it to television, represent the story, but at the same time also make some changes so it's not exactly the same. I can understand that sometimes that is hard to do. I mean, you have some part in the comics that are very, very hard to represent on television, either because of the nature of the storyline, perhaps it's too graphic for AMC to show, as well as there's just some points where there's a lot going on, and then there are other parts where there's not a lot going on. So I do sympathize in some respects with the writers, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I could do any better than them. I think that they do a wonderful job as best as they can with certain parts, and I just find that Season 7, a lot of the storylines that they were trying to work around are not always the most exciting, especially when you look at the comic books. As much as I love the character of Negan, as much as I really appreciate that story, how exciting it is, the building up to what is going to become all-out war, the storyline in Season 8, it was hard to portray. And I really look at Season 7 as a season where, overall, when you watch it, all 16 episodes in a row, it's a good season, and I like the story. I think it's a good way of building up what's going to happen. But when you watched it week to week, it was not as compelling at times. And that's just sometimes the way it goes. Sometimes some seasons are better off each week. Other times it's not. You know, that's just the way that the stories sometimes go. And I think that Season 7 was one of those seasons that just week to week, I did not always enjoy it. I felt like there was a lot missing, but at the same time, I do also like what they introduced and what they portrayed at times. These are some of the things that I felt were very good about Season 7, some of the positive things that I thought it continued to show, as well as brought into the show during that time period. Number one, obviously, is the characters. I mean, the acting is great. The storylines were great. You know, you can't deny that a lot of this show is the characters, the actors, the people that portray these characters. They all do a wonderful job, and I really feel like they do put so much passion into their work, and I appreciate that, and that continues to show. I have never been disappointed with many of these roles. There's very few times where I've ever been disappointed, and Season 7 did not disappoint. The performances of actors and actresses like, Andrew Lincoln's performance, Norman Reedus, seeing Lauren Cohan, the way that she was dealing as Maggie with Glenn's death, seeing her become a leader, Danai Gurira as Michonne. A lot of characters really just did a great job this season portraying their roles. So that was always, and it always has continued to be, a positive thing, at least for me. Another thing I thought they did a very good job of was introducing new characters. You know, these were actually characters that were from the comic books, and the way that they introduced them was absolutely great. Sometimes character introductions haven't always been the best on The Walking Dead, but I felt this season absolutely incredible. Them introducing comic book characters like, of course, Negan from back in season 6. Obviously, we got to see more of him in season 7. And also, especially Ezekiel. I mean, I thought the introduction of Ezekiel was so true to the comic books. Carrie Payton is a wonderful addition. That was very enjoyable. And not only that, but you also had characters not from the comic books that they introduced that I thought were also really great, like Jadis. I mean, we don't know Jadis from the comic books, but seeing that character in the TV show, I really enjoyed that introduction very, very much. And I really, really am excited to see, will we meet new faces in season 8? What will they be doing? Obviously, we might be wondering, is Heath going to come back, bringing back some people there? So I do wonder about these things, but I think that the character introductions were great. Another thing I thought that season 7 did a great job on was it actually established a long-term villain, which is something we haven't seen for a while on the show. Usually, over the last several seasons, we have seen villains coming in for maybe 8 episodes at a time, maybe less, maybe more, like with the governor, obviously. But I think it broke the monotony of, well, here comes a villain, and, well, by the end of these 8 episodes, that villain's going to be dead, and, something different's going to happen. I think it broke that. And I think that was something that was needed for a while on The Walking Dead. Seeing the cannibals, seeing the people at the hospital, the wolves, the governor, the claimers. I mean, a lot of these villains, were they great? Yes. They were very good additions, but you kind of knew after a while, well, by the end of these 8 episodes, something's going to happen to them. And I loved how Negan and the Saviors have really broken that streak, and that they have been around for a while, and that we have seen them becoming more established as long-term villains. And to see how that plays out, I enjoy that. I'm very, very happy to see that they've done that, and season 7 did a great job of establishing that and showing just how great of villains they actually are. So I really liked that season 7 did that and showed us a villain that is not going to go away in 8 episodes, that is not going to be very easy, and to see a new challenge that Rick's group has to face, that I enjoyed a lot about season 7 as well. And another thing, I think that even though it was hard to see at times, I really liked the new suspense that the show offered, that for the first time, we have really seen Rick's group not knowing how to go against the villain. That was, while at times it was hard to watch, to see our group so defeated, to see the way that Negan was to them, I felt that it was something that was beneficial to see in the long run. I think that you were able to see Rick's group finally not be so confident. And I think that that's also important at times. I think that it's important that your heroes are not always on top of things. And even though it did take a little while for us to get to that point of them fighting back, I think that they did a good job of establishing that new suspense, of establishing that we don't always know what's going to happen now. We don't know what they're going to do against Negan and the Saviors, kind of that unpredictable nature. I really thought they did a good job of that. But at the same time, there were also some things that were very hard to watch about season 7, and a couple of things that I really hope that season 8 does differently to maybe, in a sense, bring the audience back that it lost, because it did lose viewers. Season 7 did lose some of its viewership as it went on, and I think there were a couple of reasons behind that, and I think that season 8 is really going to be key to finding out just how much longer The Walking Dead can go for. I mean, that's obviously up to AMC, the writers, the actors, etc., but I think that the viewers can make a difference in deciding whether you're going to look 3 or 4 years down the road at what you want to continue to do, versus looking at 3 to 4 years down the road that, hey, maybe we need to think of an end game. So I think that season 8 is going to be critical to maybe potentially deciding how much longer the show can go for. I hope it goes on for several more years. I will be here to watch it all along the way, but It's hard to say. But I think I know why some of that viewership decreased in season 7. For me, one of the things I really did not like was the fact that there was too much moving around in the story each week, and there wasn't enough of seeing the characters together. And I think that that was, for me at least, one of the most negative things about The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and Z Nation this season, for all those shows for me, was they just took the characters and they put them in different spots for almost all of the seasons, and you very rarely got to see them together. I think that some of the magic of all of these shows is seeing these characters together, seeing them, interact with each other, talking with each other, fighting maybe, depending on what you're seeing, the conflicts, the love, the support, all of that together. Oftentimes, it is the cast that makes or breaks a show. And I think that when they split them up and they put, Rick's group over here in Alexandria, like Rick, Michonne, Carl, a couple of other people like Rosita, like they were all over here. But then you had Maggie and Sasha in the Hilltop. You had Tara off on her own. You had Carol and Morgan over in the Kingdom. And just each week it was different things. Episode 1, it was, the Circle with Negan's group and Rick's group in the lineup. Next week was the Kingdom. Next week was the Sanctuary. Next week, Rick's group, again, but in a different sense. It was like a whole new environment because we weren't in Alexandria. And then you went to the Hilltop, and then you went to Tara and Heath. It just didn't have the connection that I think that some of us like. And I think that really did make a lot of people not as interested. And it's just like, well, I'm tuning into a whole new different thing and it's just not connecting. And I think that was a lot of the problem with season 7, was there just wasn't enough interaction with these characters. I know that sometimes that has to happen in the show, but I am hoping that with season 8, when we see these groups fighting the saviors, that they are together, that Rick, Daryl, Maggie, Rosita, Tara, all of them, Michonne and, Carl, just name the characters. I want the majority of them together. I don't want Carol and Morgan off doing their own thing for half the season. One episode, maybe, okay, I understand that. I want these characters back together, and I want them fighting together, and I want them supporting each other. So I feel like if they don't do that next season, I'm not going to be very happy with that, and I think that it is going to bring the show down more. So I hope they bring these people back together, and that we see more of these characters. We didn't really get to see a lot of Daryl, didn't really get to see a lot of Carol. Lots of characters did not get screen time as much, and I think that needs to change for season 8. Another one of the things, and I think this is perhaps the one thing that was the hardest to deal with, was that it really took away too much hope, I think. I think that season 7, unfortunately, just did not provide enough passion for our viewers to stick with the fight, because there really wasn't anything going on. And I think that that's something that, again, I understand the way you want to present the story and the way that the saviors are. I understand that you can't always have every episode fighting back. You can't always have, the season finale episodes. But I just felt like it was too hard at times to watch. That just seeing the saviors being so powerful and not having any weaknesses and seeing them beat Rick's group down, I feel like it really did, take away some of the passion in season 7 to watch. Usually when you tune into a TV show, it's like it's supposed to be a distraction from maybe other things that are happening in your life, or it can also be you want to get joy out of this show. You want to see these people fighting. You want to see them overcoming the odds of the zombie apocalypse and everything that's happening. That's why you tune in. And when you tune in and you see, oh, well, here comes Negan, throwing another insult, and there's Rick with a sad face, and there's Rosita, wanting to do something, but just, not doing anything, and there's Michonne off doing her thing, and here's Carol over here being all upset, and here's Morgan doing and Daryl being in the cell. I think that seeing all of this negativity, unfortunately, I think it was too much for some people to deal with, and I think that was hard to watch. And I know that was hard for me to watch, was just to see nothing really going on. That you like the audience, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, do something. Come on, somebody just do something. And nobody did anything. And I understand that in the long run, but I think that that was one of the worst things about season 7. And I think that what season 8 needs to do to really recoup from that is to not have all of these episodes where nothing's going on. I'm not saying that every episode in season 8 has to be like the season 7 finale where there's always a battle, there's always, nonstop action. I'm not saying we necessarily have to have that, but there needs to be a bridge in between. There needs to be something going on. You can't have season 8 premiere be this huge battle and then take the next 5 or 6 episodes and just have them planning for something else. There has to be continuous things going on in order for season 8 to be compelling. And I think that if there is more going on, if we see the passion behind people, if we see these groups together and fighting, I think you are going to see that season 8's viewership, I think it will go back up a little bit. So I really hope that it does. I hope that if you did stop watching season 7, that you do come back for season 8. I don't think The Walking Dead has reached its prime. I think that it can only get better with time, with this upcoming storyline, with things that are going on. I think that we are going to enjoy it. And I really hope that people do come back because I think that it's still great. And I hope that The Walking Dead does take some of the criticisms that fans had about season 7 and really come back and make one action-packed season that in a sense was worth waiting for, because that's part of it. We that read the comic books, we know what's coming up, so I think it was also hard to sit there and say, come on, let's get to that point, maybe fans of Game of Thrones felt the same way, that maybe there's certain parts in the books that you just wanted to get there and it took a while. Maybe, I don't know, but I think that that's part of the benefit versus the unfortunate part of knowing the story that's coming up because of the comics. But I think season 8 can be incredible. And I think that season 7 overall, it did do great things for the story. Otherwise, it wouldn't still be going on. I think that it still has great potential. It introduced a lot of great things. And I can't wait for season 8 to premiere in October because the show is still great to me. So that's going to be it for my video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with some of my analysis? Is there things you disagree upon? Let me know what you were feeling. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you all very much for watching.